science is essential. Everywhere, all the time, science boosts your potential. Knowledge equals power. Don't waste another hour. You can do it. Anywhere, anytime.
It's been nearly 40 years since the last human being set foot on the moon. In fact, only 12 astronauts have ever walked on the moon. Edgar Mitchell was one of them.
A Saturn V spacecraft, or rocket launch vehicle, is quite an awesome piece of machinery. Weighing over 7 million pounds at liftoff, most of which is fuel, of course.
Dr. Mitchell was part of the Apollo 14 mission in 1971. He describes what it's like looking back at Earth from the moon.
That's an utterly magnificent view, and particularly from lunar orbit, when you come around from the backside of the moon and you see Earthrise coming up over the horizon of the moon.
Gene Cernan flew on the Apollo 17 mission in 1972. It was the last Apollo mission to land men on the moon.
Believe me, it has been a beginning. It is a beginning. I don't think there ever will be an end, not as long as man is alive and willing.
Constellation is NASA's program to return humans to exploring beyond low Earth orbit. We've begun with the end in mind of exploring Mars and understanding what is it that we need to learn between now and then in order to be able to do that safely and effectively. We have three different, what we refer to as design reference missions. The first one is servicing the International Space Station. Insert into orbit, rendezvous and dock with the International Space Station, stay up to 180 days or more at the International Space Station, and then return that crew to the surface of the Earth. Design reference mission number 2 would be to do a 7-day mission to the moon. Design reference mission number 3 is sort of a combination of those first two, because we're doing essentially the same functions that are in the space station mission and in the lunar 7-day mission, but now we're having crews stay on the lunar surface for up to 6 months at a lunar outpost. We have a very rich heritage of human and robotic exploration of the solar system. The extent of our reach was the moon in generations past with humans. Constellation is about reaching beyond that point ultimately.
Ken Reitler knows something about space travel. He was an astronaut on 2 missions to the International Space Station. He told his story to 5th and 6th graders at the South Florida Science Museum.
5th and 6th grade, when I got really interested in airplanes and rockets and traveling through space, because that's about the time when we started having real astronauts, people that actually were making those trips. And to me, that was the most exciting thing I could possibly think about. So as I got older, I studied more about that, and that led me to become an aerospace engineer, and eventually a naval aviator, a pilot, and also a test pilot, and finally an astronaut with NASA.
After leaving NASA, Ken Reitler joined Lockheed Martin, an aerospace company that's worked hand in hand with NASA on a number of exciting space projects.
We were doing really interesting things. We were building equipment. Some of these things were used as exercise equipment for the astronauts up on the space station. Some of the things that we did, we took care of all the moon rocks that were brought back the first time that we went to the moon. We also built the Mission Control Center that you see on TV that's used today to operate the space shuttle and the space station. And then a few years ago, NASA gave us the opportunity to help build the next vehicle that will follow the space shuttle called Orion.
The next phase of space exploration will allow astronauts to conduct scientific exploration on the Moon and Mars, yielding new knowledge from the unique vantage point of space, as well as finding new resources for future use. In the foreseeable future, the first human footprint will be placed on Mars, one of Earth's closest planetary neighbors. That journey begins with longer trips to the Moon, where astronauts will learn to live off the land and work productively, while relatively close to home, and further survey the Moon for scientific information and future resources. These pioneers will open new frontiers that will improve the quality of life on Earth for generations to come. This includes inspiring students to study math, science, and engineering to keep America globally competitive. Today, NASA and its partners are designing and developing systems that will carry new generations of explorers on fresh journeys of infinite possibilities. While using the latest tools and techniques, engineers are building on a foundation of knowledge gained from almost 50 years of hard-won experience to enhance mission success. NASA's Ares Projects Office is developing 2 new launch vehicles to empower this new era of exploration. The Ares 1 Crew Launch Vehicle and the Ares 5 Cargo Launch Vehicle. The Ares 1 will be the new flagship of America's space fleet. The first test flights are scheduled for later this decade, with crew transport to the International Space Station planned for early next decade. For lunar missions, the Ares 5, which is the larger of the 2 systems, will be sent into space first. The Ares 5 is about the size of the Apollo Saturn V. Its first stage uses 2 5-segment reusable solid rocket boosters derived from space shuttle hardware and a cluster of 5 RS-68 liquid-fueled engines, originally developed for the Delta IV expendable launch vehicle. Using proven technology for both vehicles will reduce the cost of the design effort and future space launch operations, as well as increase reliability. It also will provide the capabilities pioneers need to survive and thrive while exploring new territories. The Ares 5 heavy lift system will loft the Earth departure stage, which carries the lunar lander, equipment, and supplies needed for trips to the Moon as the first step toward much longer journeys to Mars. The Ares 5 Earth departure stage will carry the lunar lander to orbit. Once the Ares 5 has reached orbit, the Ares 1 will launch the crew into space.
2, 1, Ares 1 mission. Liftoff.
The Ares 1 first stage consists of a 5-segment reusable solid rocket booster, like the ones used on the Ares 5. The vehicle's inline design puts the crew above the propulsion system, while the integrated launch abort system on top of the Orion crew exploration vehicle can move the astronauts quickly away in case of an emergency. The recovery process for the Ares reusable solid rocket boosters will be similar to the process used today to recover the Space Shuttle boosters. Once the first stage is jettisoned, the Ares 1 upper stage will ignite its J2X engine to place the Orion into orbit. The J2X engine is evolved from the Apollo Saturn V vehicle. Once Orion reaches orbit, it will rendezvous and dock with the Earth departure stage. After checking out all systems, the Earth departure stage's J2X engine will fire a second time to perform a translunar injection burn, and it's off to the Moon. Arriving in lunar orbit, the crew will descend to the Moon's surface in the lunar lander. Capable of carrying twice as many astronauts to the moon's surface as did Apollo, the lander will enable the crew to stay for more than a week at a time, performing scientific investigations and, in essence, learning to live off the land. When their job is done, they will launch in the lunar lander and rendezvous and dock with Orion, which is waiting for them in lunar orbit. Once the crew transfers to the Orion, the lunar lander will be expended, and Orion's engine will fire to send the astronauts on their journey home. Prior to re-entering Earth's atmosphere, Orion will jettison its service module, which protected the heat shield from the space environment throughout the mission. Once exposed, the heat shield protects the crew from the excessive heat of re-entry. After re-entering Earth's atmosphere, parachutes will deploy, slowing the Orion's speed so that it can make a safe landing on dry land or in water. The Orion has the potential to be reusable, further reducing the cost of future operations. With its roots in Apollo and the Space Shuttle, and its future in traveling to the Moon and Mars, the Ares 1 crew launch vehicle and the heavy-lift Ares 5 cargo launch vehicle will help America achieve the next step toward expanding knowledge through space exploration.
So who's ready to make that trip? I would like to do that. It looks like most of you all would like to do that too. That looks like a lot of fun.
What did it feel like to go into outer space?
Going into outer space was a really exciting experience for me. It was sort of the culmination of a dream, something I've always wanted to do since I was your age. And being there was something that was unlike anything that I've ever experienced here on the Earth. It's very hard to describe what it's like to be in space because there's no way to make any kind of comparison because it's absolutely unique. It's actually a very nice feeling to be able to float around without having gravity holding you down the Earth, to be able to move around very freely and to be able to use that great environment that we have out there in space. It was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and it's something that I would look forward to going back and experiencing again.
When are people going to go to Mars and explore it?
We're really beginning just to understand the fundamental things about Mars and what it's like to work and live in that environment. You know, just the fact that we now know that there really is water on Mars is a pretty amazing thing. So we've got a lot to learn about what it's like to live on Mars.
What does it take to be an astronaut besides good grades?
Being an astronaut really requires a lot of different things. Astronauts come from a wide variety of technical backgrounds. Some are pilots like me, some are engineers, some are scientists, some are physicians, medical doctors. We've even had veterinarians become astronauts.
What is the coolest thing you probably saw in space?
You know, there are so many cool things about being in space. The sort of the biggest cool thing is looking back at the Earth. The Earth is such a beautiful place, and every time you look at it from space, it's changing. You know, it depends on the kind of the sun angle and the clouds, but every time, even if you look at the same spot on the Earth, you know, from one day to the next, it looks even more beautiful than the last time you were there.
Whenever a satellite is launched into space or a rocket goes up, a manned space mission, I tell everyone, think about me because I'm smiling. I am so proud to be a part of it.
Judith LaGrange works for Pratt & Whitney Rocketdyne here in Palm Beach County. The aerospace company makes the engines that power our rockets into space.
For me, it seemed to be a good fit. It was a place where I could grow in my financial career, but also learn a lot about an industry that I wasn't familiar with. And it really excited me and intrigued me because engineering and just that space industry is something that I didn't grow up with. So I'm really very fortunate and very pleased to be a part of it. The majority of the jobs at Pratt & Whitney Rocketdyne in West Palm Beach are for engineers, both men and women. However, it takes more than engineers to make a company such as Pratt & Whitney run smoothly. You need finance folks like myself. You have buyers that purchase materials and services. We have facility and building engineers. We have the best craftsmen who can weld, mill, and turn like you cannot believe. And of course, we have those folks to see that our environment where we work is protected.
Sherry Sampaio is in the majority at Pratt & Whitney Rocketdyne. She's an engineer who works on the valves that are used on the rocket engines.
I think it's really cool. I think I work on really cool stuff, and I'm just really excited and I'm proud to be part of the space program. I think it's awesome.
She explains that rocket engines work a lot like car engines because a car engine mixes air and some kind of fuel to cause combustion.
The rocket engine works the same way. You have a fuel like a hydrogen, and you have an oxidizer, oxygen, and they combust and they get blown out the back of the engine and the rocket's propelled forward.
So what does it take to get into the space program?
You would really want to have a curiosity to figure out how things work, you know, the mechanics and the operation of just simple things. At least from an engineer standpoint, that sort of, you know, I think that sets us aside from maybe others because we're very curious about how things work, actually. And for a 4th or 5th grader, I would say that, you know, if they had this curiosity and they just got involved with learning about these things, I think that they would do a lot to get ahead with that. And also math and science, they play big roles in working in the space industry.
3, 2, 1.
There's still much to be learned, and it's an exciting field. And I know that many of our 5th graders right now are going to find their way into that and produce great discoveries in the future.
Math and science are key to developing new technologies for our space program. You know, NASA selected Pratt & Whitney to power future engines that'll take American astronauts back to the moon. And that's going to be by the year 2020. So it's real important to stay focused in school and do the very best you can so that you can be one of those knowledgeable ones to help develop new technology that'll not only take us to the moon, but beyond.